What if Shakespeare had never been born? Hello, my dear fellow scholars. This is Nova from Parallelish, and today we are going to do something different. We are going to enter the wonderful world of counterfactual history, that is, alternate history. And we are going to ask the question, how would the world be different if one of the most important figures in human history was never born? What would the world be like if William Shakespeare had never existed? Now, there is no simple answer to this question, but let us try to give it a shot. After all, the bard's influence on literature, theater, and drama is immeasurable. So what if he never wrote Hamlet, or Romeo and Juliet, or Macbeth, or King Lear? What would literature be like without Shakespeare? Would it still have a place for tragedies and problem plays? Would there even be such a thing as comedies and drama? To give you an idea, when Shakespeare died, there was a balding epidemic among playwrights. The so-called Shakespearean tragedy, that is, tragedies dealing with great men brought low by some inner flaw. They were simply not written anymore after his death. And this, despite the fact that there was an audience for them. It just so happened that no one could fill the void left by the bard. But what if he never existed at all? Let us start with the most obvious. Without Shakespeare, Hamlet might never have made it into literature at all. That is because while Shakespeare put the Danish prince on the map, it was actually a very popular story in the oral tradition of England. There were many versions of the legend before Shakespeare wrote his play, but it was Hamlet who turned the amorphous legend into a coherent story and made it his own. So without him, we might never have had a Hamlet. And this is a huge loss, I must say. Then again, we might have had a different Hamlet, perhaps a more moralistic one, given the subject matter. But that is beside the point. We are asking, how would literature be different? Well, then we would have a different literature. The richness, the depth, the beauty of the English language would be diminished. The works of Shakespeare are translated into every language, even for languages without a written tradition, such as ancient Greek, and the beauty of his works can only be appreciated when they are read in the original English. Take, for example, the Spanish language. The greatest Spanish playwright, the brilliant Lope de Vega, wrote in a different style than Shakespeare, but he wrote vastly more plays. Without Shakespeare, would Lope de Vega have written more? Perhaps. And then we would have a different Spanish literature. But our world might also have been deprived of great art. You see, Shakespeare's plays were adapted into operas, ballets, movies, you name it. The bard's influence reaches far and wide. His absence would have created a butterfly effect in culture and art. Without Shakespeare, the French writer Victor Hugo might not have written Les Miserables. The Polish composer Stanislaw Moniuszko might not have written his famous opera The Haunted Manor based on Hamlet. The German director Werner Herzog might not have made his movie The Enigma of Caspar Hauser, inspired by King Lear. And this is just scratching the surface. Then again, these are all works inspired by Shakespeare. Would they have still been written without him? Perhaps. Would other playwrights have taken up the slack? After all, when Shakespeare died, other playwrights came up with their own tragedies, though none of them reached the heights of Shakespeare. In any case, literature would not have been the same. And what about Hamlet? Would the Dane have been immortalized in a different form? Perhaps. After all, the story was already popular in England before Shakespeare. But I doubt it. Shakespeare made Hamlet what he is, and without the bard, I am afraid that the poor prince might have been lost to history forever. So to conclude, without Shakespeare, the world would certainly have been a much poorer place. But who knows? Perhaps his death would have paved the way for someone even greater. But that is a story for another time. Thanks for watching Parallelish, where imagination bends reality. I'm Nova, your guide through the unknown. Want to explore more timelines? Tap the playlist above and keep diving into the what-ifs. Until next time, stay curious.